Hi everyone, Josh here with Northern Frogger, and today I want to talk a little bit about maintaining a dart frog vivarium. So this one right here is my Dendrobates leucomelis vivarium, or one of them anyway. And as you can probably see, it's pretty overgrown. The bottom also needs to be drained of some excess water. So nothing too exciting, but today I'm just going to kind of go through it, show you how I would kind of prune this up and get it looking a little bit nicer, and how I drain the water out of the bottom here. Alright, so hopefully you can see that well enough. The first thing I'm going to do is just go through and start pruning out a lot of the main area of these plants that are just way too overgrown here. I actually have these aquascaping scissors. These are the ones with the kind of angled tips. I find these pretty handy for doing this. I also just have a regular pair of scissors. These ones handle thicker stems a little bit better. So the first thing to do, make sure that there's no frogs ready to jump out. So I'll open it up, and there's one here. Just kind of gently herd those guys kind of into the back of the vivarium, where hopefully they won't jump out. I'll just have to keep an eye and make sure they don't hop out at me here. And then basically just start kind of grabbing the ones most at the front and kind of trimming them out to make some room here. So I got this plastic bin here that I'm going to throw all of these cuttings in, and then I will go through them afterwards, and if there's any good ones I will try to replant them into neck cups or just into another tank or something like that. I don't know how well you guys can see, but this kind of got a couple vines growing up the sides here, these philodendrons. I kind of like the way that's there, so I'm going to leave those guys alone a bit and just kind of clear out this main section a bit of this. I think this is the Pilea grandifolia. I just kind of clipped out that huge kind of bush of this stuff that was growing in the middle there, and you can see how much more open that looks already, how much more light is getting down there. And so I don't really want to get rid of all of this, but it's kind of what happens when you let it go a little bit too long. But the stuff in the bottom here is just so full of roots and just such a tangled mess in here that I prefer to just kind of selectively trim it back to make it look the way I want, but this has kind of gotten to the point where I almost have to cut out this whole middle area, and might try to kind of replant a couple things in there. But yeah, I'm going to cut out a good chunk of all of this grandifolia here. Alright, and that's why I don't normally like to let it go this long, because it ends up with just such a tangled mess of roots and stems and everything that sometimes it's hard to get it out of there without kind of just ripping everything out and starting over. So this is kind of the vivarium cleared out of most of the leaves. There's still some mosses back there, and some of the plants I managed to work around. Let's see, one of the female Leucomelis is hanging out there, and the male's kind of up in that back corner. Probably can't see him, but so this is an example of one I don't really use a coconut hut. I just have the dish kind of under this piece of wood back there, and they use that one all the time. Same, I don't have one in there right now, but there's usually just one kind of in underneath these pieces of wood. So now that I've kind of demolished this thing, I'm going to go back through these cuttings and try to find a few decent pieces to kind of plant back in there. I'm gonna get another plant from another tank here. But yeah, I think that's basically gonna do it for that. Quite a bit sparser than it was, but the biggest downside to doing this is a lot of times if you do a heavy prune like this, the frogs will stop laying for a little bit at least. So yeah, that's basically all I'm going to do for the plants here, I think. The next step is just to drain the excess water out of the bottom here, so I'll go show you what I use for that. Basically, to drain the water here, I've got a small tube in the back corner here, and then I've just basically got a little bit of this small tubing. I think this is just like the 1/4 inch tubing, and then on the other end I've got one of these primer bulbs to start the siphon, and then I've just got a container down below that it'll drain into, just like a little plastic shoebox thing. So just reach into the back here, find this tube, and then my hose gets inserted inside of it. But yeah, basically that tube just kind of goes down the corner past the mesh and sits right down at the bottom of the tank. So when I kind of start this siphon here with this bulb, it'll just kind of slowly start draining out. So you can see I've got the siphon started here, and normally I'll just kind of go close it as much as I can so it's sitting there, and just kind of stick close by while it's draining to make sure frogs don't hop out. Oh, the one other thing I normally do, so you can see up at the top here, this top is pretty dusty. It's got some dead flies there. There's also like spider webs up in here, and underneath there's actually like some algae starting to grow on the bottom of this glass. So what I will also go and do is just kind of spray that down with my hand mister and wipe it down with some paper towels just to get the algae off the inside. Just dust the top, and that'll actually let quite a bit more light in and help these plants grow quite a bit better too. And that's something I do with all the tanks periodically. Oh, and I would spray down the front glass too, inside and out, and wipe it down. Alright, so here it is, all completed. Looking good, a lot more open. Frog should be a lot more visible in there now. And that's mostly all you really have to do to maintain these vivariums. Alright, so I think that's pretty much going to do it for today. Pretty happy with how this thing is looking now. Much better than it did at the start of the video here. A properly set up tank, basically all you have to do is add leaf litter once in a while. Maybe top up the soil if it starts going down there. But other than that, a dart frog vivarium set up like this will go for years without really having to do much maintenance other than what I did today every couple of months. So I think it's really easier to maintain dart frogs than a lot of people think. But yeah, I think I'm just gonna wrap it up here. So thanks a lot for watching, guys. As always, questions, comments, suggestions, leave them down below there. Like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video there, and until next time, happy frogging.